Everything running? Let me know where things are at right now, because that was kind of weird. All I heard was a bong, and I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Okay, so Twitch side is good. I'm just checking the other side. Mine's not fixed. Try refreshing. Yeah, my end, I'm not seeing it on YouTube yet. I'm just waiting for that. Hey guys. I don't know if you can hear me. Okay, so it's still working on Twitch. Hey there, Music Derp. I'm gonna try to get this to work. I'm gonna go to my channel for a second to see if I can get it up. Okay. Okay, it looks like it is starting to work. I just went back and it looks like it's working again. I basically went to my events. I have no clue what happened. All I heard was a bong and that was it. I'll back up some. Okay, there we go. We'll start from right here. Make sure everything is hunky-dory. I have no clue what happened. Can you hear me okay? I really don't know what happened. I really don't. Okay, everything looks like it's going okay on this side. On Twitch, everything looks like it's up and running on YouTube now. Basically, it looked like it, on, I'm gonna call this, part 2A. Since it basically stops. I don't know why. Aw, man, it's too long. Damn it. Guess I have to remove the continued. Eh. There we go. That was weird. I'm gonna give this to my YouTubers so they can then have it. Hopefully that helps. Everything's okay. Hopefully. No, not me. Okay, good. I'm getting response that it's up now. That's good. For the Twitch, I gave them the same link for YouTube. I'm going to refresh this on Twitch to make sure everything is peachy on this end. And then I'll continue the story. I'm sorry, guys, for whatever happened. I have no clue why it happened. I'm gonna check the OBS. Everything looks okay here. Okay. Okay. Alright, everything looks like it's good. Okay. Let me know if you guys are experiencing any lag. I can turn it down. I better not be. I'll be pissed. Just saying. Okay, everything looks good there. Okay. I think it could finally continue, guys. Whew! I don't know what was going on there. I quickly took that moment to leave, not wanting to disturb them and not wanting to see their moment go any farther than that kiss. I remained in my room until the night came. I was given food which looked like soup. The woman who gave it to me apologized, letting me know the food was scarce until the upcoming harvest, which was a couple of days away. Being that I was only staying the day, I didn't mind much. I was more concerned over what I was given to eat. It was some sort of stew with mysterious chunks swimming in its broth. It smelled surprisingly good, but who knew how it tasted? So guys, I want to make sure everything is completely, so I'm giving this choice to you guys. We can just eat it or we can refuse it. So I'll be leaving that choice to you guys. Making sure like you can hear me and everything is okie dokie. Pinky Pock, you want to see drunk people? Oh man, I don't know about that. Refuse it. Alright. No. No way. No how. I was not in the mood to try out new things after what I had been through, and this was not something I wanted to try at all. A knock rapped on my door, breaking me out of my train of thought. Huh? Come in! The door opened to reveal Diana with a plate holding things I recognized. Bread and cheese. I let out a heavy beep beep. The door opened to reveal Diana with a plate holding things I recognized. Bread and cheese. I let out a heavy sigh of relief before Diana laughed.
I suggest not trying that. As good as it smells, the taste would not sit well with you.
Instantly, I moved the bowl to the nearby table, thankful that I did not have to try it. Diana handed me the plate and nodded, reassuring me that what was on it was indeed what it seemed.
It's not much, but it's human food. Eat up.
I will. I began to chow down, feeling the hunger in my stomach dissipate with each bite and swallow. The food I was eating, surprisingly, was delicious. As I began to crave something to drink, Diana chuckled and formed a small goblet in her hand, filled with clear liquid that I assumed to be water. I took it and drank it down, feeling my thirst quenched before I let out a sigh. I feel so much better.
I can tell. Take a moment to finish eating, then we'll head for the ritual.
Okay. I looked up at Diana, suddenly excited. Everything was prepared for. Was it possible to go home now? As if she read my mind, she smiled and nodded.
We finished the main preparations. We just need to head over and we'll start.
I couldn't continue eating. My mind went into an obsessive frenzy of wanting to go home. I stood up, moving the plate and goblet to the nearby table. Let's go.
Huh? Are you sure?
I nodded, not wanting to waste any more time. I needed to get home, and I was tired of waiting. Plus, my poor fluffy butt needed some fluffing to it. Diana stared before nodding and heading for the door, opening it for me, and exiting after me. As she closed the door behind her, I began to feel my heart flutter in relieved joy. I was heading home. Diana led me down the corridors to the war room where I had originally arrived to reveal the table covered in plants and artifacts of different kinds. None of it made sense to me, but I had to only assumed it was what was needed for the spell to work. Diana walked to the table and took note of what she saw, nodding.
This should work.
You're in doubt?
Have to be after the last time we tried sending her home. Do we have a human anchor?
No, you're on your own this time. But we'll make sure you survive casting it.
This spell should work, however, because we'll be using energy material. It will only require a slice of your energy on top of these items, which your guard can refill immediately after this.
Just make sure you don't die casting it.
Diana smiled at her guard before turning to me.
So, are you ready to return home?
She didn't have to ask. My butt was so ready to get home. So ready. I'm ready. Diana nodded once more before turning back to the table. She lifted her arms over the surface and lowered her head, muttering under her breath. As she spoke, the table began to glow as she did. As she spoke, the table began to glow, as did she. A dark purple aura began to surround her form as she lifted and arched her head back, staring at the ceiling. A glimpse at her eyes made me gasp. Warm golden orbs covered her blood-red irises, glowing with magic. She was deep within the spell, and I could see it slowly draw energy from her body. The items on the table began to gleam, light orbs floating from them and dancing in the air before the table's surface. They began to weave back and forth with each other, almost as if the lights were dancing in a silent tune. The other demon stepped back as Diana moved her arms and pointed to the dancing light. They wanted to touch my fluffy ass, just to see how fluffy it was, before they turned back to see Diana pointing her finger into the air, leading the lights to follow where it directed obediently. And then I glared at them fiercely. Sorry guys, I couldn't resist. She drew a large circle in the air, and the lights followed like a perfect trail, spreading out and forming a large void in the air. As they finally stopped moving, they burst into a bright light, causing the demons and I to cover our eyes from it. It engulfed the room, but died down just as fast, revealing a small tear in the air. Diana quickly leaned forward and dug her hands into it before pulling the tear apart, revealing My bedroom. Thank God, because these guys are molesting my ass. Diana continued to pull the tear open, giving enough space for me to jump through.
Hurry and go through! This is your chance!
Otherwise they're gonna touch your ass! I wasn't going to let it go to waste. I gripped the bottom of my dress and rushed forward, using momentum to jump into the air and forward towards the void. I could almost reach it. I could feel the air conditioning of my room right at my fingertips.
She will never leave this world alive!
Demon Lord's voice rang through the air just as I saw my fingertips pass through the tear. What stopped the rest of my body was a red light and forcing me and Diana back from the opening. Yeah! I felt my body fly backwards and slam into the wall. Good thing my ass was fluffy. Before I laid it on the stone ground, I heard Diana as well land beside me with a painful thud. I looked up and felt my heart break as the tear became wrapped in red lightning, zipping itself closed and vanishing into the thin air. No, this could not be!
Damn it!
That should have worked! How could it have failed?
You must have missed something. Was there anything we had forgotten?
No. I verified everything myself.
Then why was the Demon Lord able to overpower a gate spell?
I highly doubt you know either, brute.
Stop fighting! We need to make a plan and all of you are just being stupid! Stupid!
Are you alright, Isaiah?
I'm fine.
I was too lost in my mind to fully understand what was going on around me. I was so close. I felt the other side. I had almost made it home. Why couldn't I go home? Diana grunt of pain next to me made me shoot my head towards her, and I watched her slowly push herself off of the ground and glare at the table.
The demon lord must have done something more than simply bring her here.
What could he have done?
He was staring at my fluffy ass. That's what he has done. He's put some sort of curse on my lovely fluffiness of my fluffy fluff ass!
The Demon Lord is incapable of doing anything of the sort. His lackey imps must have done something to her.
All I can think about is basically, of her being a sheep or some sort of bunny. But I think more of a sheep. If she was a demon right now, being called FluffyButt.
A spell?
A curse.
I looked at the rabbit woman, seeing her stare wide-eyed at me. The other demons stared at me as well, and suddenly I felt like I was on display, because they were all looking at that fluffiness in my ass. Was something wrong with me?
She will not leave the demon world alive. He must have placed some sort of curse on her to prevent her from leaving this plane. In order to leave, she'd have to die.
What? Mean my fluffiness won't be fluffy no more? My mind went blank. Did the Demon Lord really curse me? Was I forced to stay in this world until I died? I could never go back.
Are you suggesting a barrier curse?
That would explain the red energy that sealed the tear.
What? Dark magic like that requires.
One of 1,000 demons. He must have sacrificed part of his army to cast a curse on her that would prevent her from leaving.
The Demon Lord is that desperate for her. The only way to break that kind of curse is to kill the caster, the Demon Lord himself.
She's trapped here until this war is over.
My body began to shiver violently. The Demon Lord killed 1,000 demons just to trap me here. Why? Why? I slammed my fists into the ground and began to scream. I want to go home! Why? I could feel the sympathy and anger in the room, but I didn't care. I was beyond livid. I was far past broken. I was seeing red. Ah! As my voice ripped through the air, a bright light erupted through the room once again. Everyone covered their eyes, but Diana quickly on her knees and covered me with her body. She held me tightly as the light invaded the space and slowly began to fade. As the light finally died, everyone moved their hands to see what had happened. And after they touched my ass again, the molester sucked on them. In the air was a white tear that was slowly opening, facing down towards the table. Something was coming. I could feel it in the air. The guard summoned his spear and pointed it at the tear, glaring at it and gritting his teeth.
Something's coming!
I'm sorry, Nico! I'm sorry, Nico, I killed your ears. I'm sorry! In reply, Diana summoned what looked like a saber and placed it in front of us.
Ready yourselves! It could be the Demon Lord!
The other demons in the room readied themselves and stared at the tear, either holding a weapon and preparing a spell. I felt the air change, becoming heavier as the tear began to grow. The energy around it began to pulsate, making everyone in the room that much more tense. I stared at the tear as well, frightened as to what was coming. Was it the Demon Lord? His minions? My mind began to cycle through the fearful ideas of what was about to appear. My heart almost stopped. Falling from the chair and landing on the table was the 5 Ikibai brothers. They were piled on top of one another, having come through one at a time. However, as the last brother landed, the boys fell to one side, toppling off of the table and landing on the floor. The rebels around me stared at the fallen pile of incubi, confused and surprised. As the tear in the air closed, the orc man was the first to lower his sword.
What the hell?
Who are they?
Careful, they could be the Demon Lord's men.
No. The rebels looked at me as I stood up, Diana following and still protecting me, and I stared at the boys on the ground. They all looked dazed and a bit shell-shocked from having fallen twice in rapid succession. I almost couldn't believe it. There they were, right in front of me. My mind couldn't help but remember how I had first met them. They had all been on the floor of my mansion, unconscious and wounded. Now they were in front of me in the demon world. I know them. I stared at the one I was meant to marry, seeing him slowly shake his head and rise from the ground. They came to rescue me. He came to rescue me. My heart became overjoyed and full of warmth and happiness. I was going to go home, and we should have some fluffy times. The question was how? As the sight of the boys kept the demon's attention, a second tear opened above them, causing everyone to look up. 4 women dropped down from the tear and somehow managed to fall into the arms of the Ikibai behind Damien.
Whoa!
I gotcha! I gotcha! It's okay!
Eric!
Love, I've got you!
James!
Whoa, are you alright?
I stared wide-eyed. Their wives came too? I watched as the boys and the girls finally planted themselves on the ground. Before looking around, Damien's eyes locked onto me, and he hurried towards me. Damien! I swirled around Diana. I swerved around Diana and rushed to Damien, meeting him halfway and wrapping my arms around him tightly as his hands reached for my fluffy ass.
I'm so glad you're safe.
I took in his scent, his warmth. He was here in my arms, and I couldn't have asked for anything more. Damien seemed to feel the same as he wrapped his arms around my form and buried his face in my shoulders and gripping tightly on my fluffy ass. So, guys, should we simply enjoy the moment or give him a squeeze? Yep. Give him a squeeze. I tightened my hold on Damien, slightly expressing my love and happiness, and seeing and feeling him again. He squeezed me back lovingly, of course he did, because he loved the fluffiness of my ass, peppering my neck with his kisses. As Damien had our moment, his brothers stepped up near us, almost in a protective circle. Sam, however, moved towards Diana, glaring hard.
You've got 10 seconds to explain why she's here, bitch.
I'm going to ignore that insult for the sake of the bride. However, I wasn't the one who brought her here.
You're such a terrible liar.
I turned to see Matthew and Sam standing in front of me, and Diana, ready to attack. Oh, whoa. I turned to see Matthew and Sam standing in front of me, and Damien, ready to attack Diana. The succubus in question, however, seemed unfazed by their attempts at intimidation. Guys?
Did she bring you here?
What? Turning my head back to Damien, I saw in his eyes. I had only seen that look once before, when Diana had confronted me and showed me his past. I shook my head. No, she didn't bring me here. It was the Demon Lord.
I beg your pardon?
I love that whole entire line that he did. That was great. Uh-oh. Okay, that's all good. Okay, good.
Are you sure?
I stared at Damien, seeing something in his eyes ignite, like an angry flame that was quickly growing. His hold on me tightened as he looked at Diana.
Why did he bring her here?
I looked over to Diana, knowing that she would explain, but I was surprised to see her flinch back at his expression. Was she scared? Shaking her head, Diana cleared her throat and looked back to Damien, settling back into her uncaring gaze.
He wanted to lure you all back, knowing that at least you, Damien, would chase after her, and the others would follow. Obviously, his plan worked.
This time, it was the boys' surprise, feeling the weight of her words. However, Damien gathered himself and spoke up again.
Well, thank you for keeping her safe. We'll be...
She can't leave.
And why not?
She's been cursed by the demon. She can't leave unless she dies or until we kill him.
You plan to kill him?
We're obviously not going to choose the fourth. We've been fighting the Demon Lord for 10 years now. Might as well have another reason to kill him.
My eyes looked to Damien, wondering what he was thinking. Diana then shrugged.
However, it will take some time to plan out our attack. We can't just walk into his castle and slit his throat.
Damien finally looked back to me, staring into my eyes, if he was trying to find some sort of response. I stared back, trying to find some hint as to what he was thinking about in his eyes. He slowly leaned forward and kissed my forehead before turning his head back to Diana.
How much time do you need?
1 week.
I shot my head towards Diana in surprise, as did the rest of the occupants in the room. Seriously? 1 week?
Where is this number coming from, Succubus?
We need to fully prepare ourselves for the final stage, which I'm certain will only take a couple of days. We've pinned him into a corner. The Demon Lord will fall.
That's rather bold to assume.
She's right, though. We can prepare everything in that time frame, right?
And if he does the same and attacks us before then?
He won't.
I watched as Diana walked over and cleared the table of the materials that had gathered for the gate spell, revealing a physical map of the abyssal plane. She pointed to a spot on the map, a peninsula surrounded by water labeled as the Decaying Sea.
We'll cast a barrier spell along the edge of the peninsula and around the castle. He and his army won't be able to move from that spot until we break it ourselves, which will be during the siege.
I got the word, guys! I didn't call it the peninsula. I called it the peninsula. Woo!
Where would we get the energy needed for that kind of spell?
We won't be using energy.
The other rebel demons in the room suddenly tensed up, staring at Diana in surprise. What was she going to do?
My lady, you're not suggesting...
The Demon Lord has shown how far he is willing to go to win this war. It's only fitting to show the extent we'll go to in response.
As much as I agree with you, this seems a little rash.
What are you guys talking about?
Are they allowed to know?
I plan to put a barrier curse around the Demon Lord's castle and army. It's temporary, so it won't need the blood of 1,000 demons. But it will need the sacrifice of at least one demon life.
And I assume you'll be sacrificing one of my soldiers.
Is this our only option?
There are other options, but they will most likely take a lot of energy to pull off. It just depends on what we want to do. If we want to do this immediately, then the barrier curse is indeed the best option.
I'm not opposed to performing the curse. As rash as it is, it will make our lives easier in the long run.
You expect me to hand over one of my men? My soldiers joined the rebellion to kill the Demon Lord, not to get their throats slit before even seeing the final battle?
It's wrong, but can we really afford to spend any more energy? Diana already spent a lot trying to send the human back.
What is the other option?
The rabbit woman and the fairy moved towards the map and pointed at the peninsula.
We could form tall rock walls around the castle. Box them in. It will take a lot of our energy, but we can recover in that week period.
And what will stop the Demon Lord from tearing down the walls?
I can imbue the walls with holy magic.
The Yinkabai and I looked at him, all of us equally surprised as a demon with holy magic. How?
How the fuck did you get holy magic? You look and smell like a demon.
The guard held up his wrapped hand, letting the beads around it jingle with a sudden motion.
I've had the ability to use holy magic ever since I was taken in by my lady's family. There's no doubt that I am a demon, but I can't recall how I gained this ability.
How is holy magic different than demon magic? How is holy magic different than demon magic?
It's white magic. Unlike demon magic, holy magic isn't so finicky. Think of it as warding or dispelling magic. You can't bless air or anything that doesn't have physical form, but you can bless objects to fight back against other forms of magic.
If the walls were blessed with holy magic, the Demon Lord wouldn't be able to escape until we released him.
Why not just trap him forever?
That's idiotic. He would still be a threat regardless. Holy magic doesn't last forever, and stone will crumble eventually.
He's right. We wouldn't be able to keep the walls up forever.
The situation became more and more complicated. The more we discussed it, how were we going to go about this?
We can't just sit around and debate this forever. The longer we wait, the more we risk him striking back at us.
But is it worth killing someone to trap him?
When we finally strike, we will lose hundreds, if not thousands, of soldiers anyway. What difference will it make to lose one more life on top of this?
Soulless fuck.
We can still cage him in.
I bit my lip. It was really a tough decision. A curse or a trap? Which was better? Both have their prices, but we had to choose one. From the look of it, no one wanted to speak up, so I felt the urge to say something. Maybe I could be the one who would determine everything. But which method could be the best choice? So guys, do you want to do the trap or do you want to do the curse? Curse, 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 down with Bob, curse, down with... Jeez Louise, guys. Trap. Alright, the curse. Everyone in the room looked at me in surprise as I finally spoke up. The demon lord had trapped me here with the blood of 1,000 demons. It was only fair to trap him with the life of just one. Will the curse work with just one life?
Yes. He won't be able to escape because of its dark magic.
Woo! Where'd it go?
Are you sure this is the best choice?
A monster like him won't stop if we box him in. We have to ensure that he won't be able to do anything while we prepare to fight back. Everyone nodded, most in reluctance, while the others did with confidence. Diana, however, turned to the orc man with a stern face.
As for your reluctance, Sir Brute, we won't be using one of your men.
Well then, who would you use?
At that moment, Diana's smirk sending a familiar shiver down my spine. For a split second, I swore I saw a flash of gold cross her visible eye as she replied to Matthew.
A little mongrel who had the nerve to electrocute me in my own castle.
I stared. There really was an imp in the castle. However, my mind released the question to focus on Diana's smirk. Something was off about Diana, and I couldn't put my finger on what it was. When I came to the demon world, I had barely recognized her and didn't expect her kindness. Now, as I was staring at her at that moment, I again recognized the woman who had attacked me in the human world. Diana shook her head before crossing her arms and looking directly at me.
So, since you'll be here for a while, we might as well give you names that you can use to refer to everyone here.
Are we getting human names?
Must we?
Diana rolled her eyes and gestured to each demon, naming them on the fly.
For the sake of time, we'll use simple names. This is Rabbit, our magic advisor, Sergeant, commander of our armies, Shadow, leader of our assassins, and Faye, our nomadic force ambassador.
Sergeant, I'm a commander, succubus. Shouldn't my name be Commander?
It's easier on the tongue, though, to say Sergeant.
My lady, what shall they call me?
Diana looked at Sarah for a moment before turning towards me, a look of seriousness emanating from her eyes.
You may call him Sarah. He is my personal guard, and he is always by my side.
Emanating from her eyes. Can I please spit that out right? The other demons and Sarah seemed to be surprised. Was Sarah his true demon name? Why would she give me his true name?
Are you sure?
Call him only.
Hello, Seaboy. Welcome to my live stream. And to let you know what this game is, it's called Seduce Me Too, the Demon Lord. The Demon Ward. Haha! The Demon Lord War. Call him only if your life depends on it. Oh, sorry guys. I didn't mean to read that again. Her eyes seemed to burn as she gazed into mine, full of hard intent and warning. I mentally noted her seriousness as she ran a hand through her hair.
Well, now that we have a plan and introductions are out of the way, I believe we can end this meeting. We have a lot to accomplish in 1 week.
What about us? You don't expect us to sit around.
Actually, I do. You all don't belong on the battlefield.
Excuse me? Just hold on a...
I will not take untrained and unarmed beings into a war zone.
Hold on! I interjected, stepping forward and crossing my arms at Diana. She seriously wasn't going to make us stay back while she fought the Demon Lord, was she? So, guys, what do you want to do? Alright, we can fight! 2. Diana squinted at me, pressing her lips together into a fine line. However, I meant what I said. We could fight too.
You expect me to trust that you can fight in a war?
Let me and my brothers train then. We're demons, for fuck's sake. We know how to fight.
The boys stared at Diana as she turned her head toward Sam. He was right, though. They knew how to train, so they knew how to fight. If they fought with the rebellion, there would be a better chance of winning this war.
You all realize this is a war, correct? You can die here.
We understand completely.
We know what the risks are.
Diana could only stare at our group as we challenged her proclamation. I wrapped my hands around my fiancé's arm, frightened at the idea of participating in a war, but knowing that we needed all the strength we could muster to finish off the Demon Lord. This was the only way that I could go home. Defeated, Diana sighed and rubbed her temples.
Very well. I can't exactly keep you here like prisoners, so it will be up to you if you choose to train for battle. However, I highly suggest just staying here and allowing us to handle it.
I nodded, as did the others. This was really happening. We were going to kill the Demon Lord, and we had 1 week to either prepare for war or wait it out. Diana turned towards me and looked down at my outfit. I had nearly forgotten that I was still in my wedding dress until Diana pointed at my chest.
Lumen infere, bellum tabescere, serene.
I stared at her, unsure of why she was speaking in Latin, until I felt the fabric around my body shift and change. I quickly looked down to see my wedding dress morph into an outfit, and that looked perfect for the demon world. The white top shifted into a long-sleeved, oversized tunic with a leather corset and vest, while the bottom part of the gown split and wrapped around my legs, forming into dark leggings. My shoes stretched into long knee-high boots.
Hey, you look really nice. Good choice.
Thank you. I blushed, getting used to the feel of the outfit. The corset was tight, but it was still something new. Along with the rest of the garb, it was so extending the fluffiness of the ass. The ass. Where did that come from? The fluffiness of this fish. This is my new pet. Can't you see him starting to struggle and wanting to get some water, but he just can't resist the fluffiness of this ass. Damien smiled and wrapped an arm around my shoulder, hugging me to him.
You look really nice.
Thank you.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to head for the Demon Lord's castle.
Do you plan to shadow travel?
No, I have another method. Don't worry. I'll be back by morning.
Diana looked at Faye and nodded to them, as they pressed their lips together in a tight line.
Faye, please escort our guests to the remaining open rooms while I'm gone.
All right.
Set up.
Yes, my lady.
Sarah walked towards Diana and followed her out of the room. The other demons, however, looked towards us.
I'll take you to your rooms then.
Thank you. We truly appreciate it.
Thanks, Faye. My mind for a moment wandered to Diana and remembered her almost evil smirk when we decided to perform the curse. What was she planning to do? Hopefully nothing truly sadistic. The walk to the room was filled with awkward silence. What were we supposed to do here? Damien and I were both human, and while yes, we both knew he'd have to help in the war, he wasn't a demon anymore. I grimaced, feeling the nervousness of the situation take hold of me. This was going to be a rocky adventure. Who knew what would happen? What to expect? I could only guess. Time would tell. I gripped Damien's hand harder as he lowered his hand and gripped my ass, squeezing it to feel the fluffiness of it all. Letting my nerves sink in, naturally Damien smiled and kissed my forehead.
It's okay. Everything will be alright, I promise.
I nodded, but some part of me was still fearful despite his reassurance. We were in the demon world. Humans in the demon world. I was worried what would become of Damien now that he was in his home plane as something he wasn't born as. I looked up at Damien, seeing him focused on following our guide to get us to our room. I was curious what was going through his mind. I'm sure it was about my ass, but still, I was sure he was worried when I was taken. But now that he had me back, what was he thinking of now? Besides my ass. For a moment, I briefly wished I had his mind-reading abilities. I wanted to know what went through Damien's mind at everything we did, at every step we made, at every event that came along the road. Feeling my stare, Damien turned his head and looked down at me, furrowing his eyebrows in confusion.
What is it?
I lightly bit my lip. Did I want to tell what was on my mind? So, guys, should we tell him? Hashtag FluffyButt. What do you think about this whole thing? I had to verbalize my curiosity. Damien took in the questions before turning to the hall once again, frowning a bit.
I think it's a really bad situation. You're trapped here, and I'm human, so I can't do much to help in the war.
As Damien squeezed my hand, however, I felt my heart flutter a bit. He then reached down and grabbed that fluffiness again.
Still, I want to help and bring you back. I'll do everything I can to send us back home.
Damien! Stop feeling my ass so much! I naturally hugged his arms, causing him to gasp a bit and look over, a faint blush running across his cheeks, most likely by touching my ass. He was so adorable, and I absolutely loved him. Whatever drew him to me made my heart feel absolutely lucky to have him. It was probably my ass. As we reached our room, I took in that the ambassador's room I had claimed the night before was officially sanctioned for me and Damien. The others were given rooms in another part of the castle, so we had some space to ourselves. Stepping in, I took a seat on the bed, feeling mild exhaustion sweep over me. However, Damien looked around the room in slight awe. I tilted my head, wondering why. Damien stepped around the room, looking around and observing every piece of decor. As he got to the mantel, he looked almost stunned to see the design and architecture of it. It was almost like watching a little kid walk into a museum. Damien? My voice caught his attention, causing Damien to jump up and look at me in surprise. As he calmed down, he rubbed the back of his neck in nervousness. Most likely because he really wants to touch that ass.
Sorry, I've never really been in a room like this before, so this is a bit of a surprise to me.
Really? What kind of room did you have? I stared at Damien in shock. He really never saw a room like this? We were in the demon world, though. How could have this been not familiar to him? I was positive that he would have at least seen a room like this in his time here. Damien shook his head in reply.
I never had a room growing up.
And my heart suddenly crumbled in my chest. I knew that Damien was the mistreated bastard son of the Demon Lord, but to not have a room? That was almost cruel. No wonder he licks my fluffy butt. Because it was so soft and it just felt so comfortable. I couldn't help imagining Damien sleeping on the cold marble floor of the grand hall or even in a cell. My soul began to weep for him. But I knew that it was just better to ask him about his experience than assume the uses. How did you sleep then?
Well, demons don't sleep at all, actually.
That made absolutely no sense. Wait, what? They don't... Why do they have beds and stuff then? Damien blushed a bit with a grimace across his lips.
Well, other than having, sex. Demons rest, like lying down or reading or something like that, but demons never close their eyes for long. It opens them up to being taken advantage of.
Then how the heck do demons function?
With energy and food. As long as a demon has both, or at least one or the other, they can keep functioning without needing to sleep. Lying down simply lets them stop using their energy.
Then what about in the human world? Were you and the others pretending to sleep? Damien shook his head, driving another confused wedge into my brain. What? Demons could sleep then, but only if they wanted to? But they absolutely didn't need to, so they didn't have to? Damien laughed a bit at my confusion.
When we went to the human world, we got to experience sleep for the first time. It was so good for us, and we felt relaxed, so we kept at it, like regular humans. Besides, the risks we had here are not the same as the risks in the human world.
There was still a lot I had to learn about demons. Apparently, not that I needed to. No, but my curiosity about them grew the more I learned about them. Damien smiled and walked over to sit beside me and kiss my cheek.
I think we'll be safe to sleep, though. This is Lilith Castle, after all.
Lilith Castle. This place has a name. With a nod, Damien pointed over at the mantle, tracing through the air at the markings in the stonework.
If I remember right, James told me about the first succubus, Lilith, and how she gave birth to incubi and succubi from this very castle. Diana is her descendant, so she now owns this place.
Wow. So Diana really was a princess. I was a bit surprised to confirm that fact, but in the end it made sense. She had the attitude of one, that was for sure. Damien wrapped an arm around my shoulder and smiled.
At least we'll get some good sleep tonight.
Yeah. I could feel that we would be okay in our room. The castle was well fortified from what I knew, and Diana seemed to be on top of making sure everything ran smoothly, as did the others rebel leaders. Everything was like a well-oiled machine. I leaned my head on Damien's shoulder, letting out a small sigh. Stop feeling my ass. You stop feeling it. Sorry, but your feeling of my ass is making me.
For what?
I looked up at Damien, remembering that I had been gone for an entire day. I must have worried him sick and made everyone else go crazy at my absence, not only from the wedding, but from the entire human world. For going missing. I was gone for a whole day. Damien stared at me for a moment before smiling and kissing my forehead.
Were you really here a whole day?
I furrowed my eyes, staring at him and trying to figure out if he was joking or being serious. Seeing my expression, Damien let out a small laugh and hugged me to his side.
To me, you were only gone for about 4 or 5 hours.
Wait, what? That could not be. There was no way I was gone for that short period of time. I remember sleeping in this room, going through an entire day of being in this world, and trying to get home to him twice, and people feeling my ass. The difference did not add it up. With a small smirk, Damien released me and placed his hand on my head.
Time runs differently between the human and demon worlds. A whole day here is about 5 hours in the human world. You weren't gone very long.
My jaw dropped. Every time, even time was different here. This world full of surprises, I felt myself hold my cheeks and try to take it in. How did everyone react? Damien frowned a bit and gently wrapped his arms around me, hugging me fully to him and resting his head on mine.
We were all worried sick about you.
Damien. I could only imagine what Damien went through in those 5 hours. When I didn't arrive, what was the first thing he did? What was the first thing anyone did? I felt guilty, but I also knew that what had happened was out of my hands. Damien let out a small sigh and kissed my head.
When you didn't show up, we sent the girls to find you while my brothers managed to wipe everyone's memories and delay the wedding for a couple of days. We didn't know how fast it would take us to find you.
Damien's grip tightened around me as he pulled me over closer to him, and gripping my booty so fluffy.
I had to rely on my brothers to find you. There was no clue where you were taken, so I had to sit and wait until they managed to locate you, here. And we came.
Then you came. Should we lie in his arms, guys, or should we embrace Damien? Mm. The booty talk is continuing. For those that have not joined us in the live stream and might be watching this video in the future, we are going to embrace our Damien. I was stunned by the love I was given by Damien. Despite being human, he traveled through the gates of worlds to try and find me. I was lucky to have a loving man like him. My only regret was being in this world instead of at the altar with him. I wrapped my arms around Damien and pressed my forehead to his shoulders, closing my eyes and taking in his scent and love. Eventually, Damien pulled away and stared down at me with a tired smile.
We should get some rest. There's a long week ahead of us.
I nodded in agreement. Knowing exactly what he meant, we slowly crawled into bed and snuggled into each other's arms, embracing the darkness of slumber once more. As sleep welcomed me, a thought ran through my mind. What would happen? Obviously the boys would help fight in the war, but what about Damien? He was indeed human and had no abilities to use as such. Then again, maybe he could still use magic as a human. Carrie was able to do so, and she was human, but she was a witch, trained in magic. Damien's abilities came with his demon side, which he never had. How would he fight, then? The question floated around in my mind in my dreams, as I drifted to a calm and peaceful sleep.
Why can't I sleep? Something's wrong.
Something is indeed wrong, boy. You're in the demon world, and you won't even acknowledge your demon side.
Huh? What are you doing here?
Observing a disappointment for amusement. You keep continuing to fail at living so much that it's become a wonderful form of entertainment. The demon who lost his powers. Doesn't that sound absolutely ridiculous? Let's replace it with the demon whose wife almost became the demon lord's next bed bitch.
What do you want?
Oh, come now, don't be so hostile. You'll wake the human up.
She and I are both human.
I cannot believe it. Is that what you still think, boy? Do you truly believe yourself to be human?
Yes. No matter how many times you taunt me, I know the truth. I am human.
Well, I hate to break the delusion you may be under, but you should know that becoming a human is impossible for a demon.
That's not true. I've been a human for over 2 years now. I don't believe you.
Then you are more of a disappointment than I imagined. God, why don't you just give up? Then again, if you gave up, then I would lose my entertainment.
Leave.
Fine, fine, I shall. But heed my words, boy. Tomorrow will be a very rough awakening for you. I can feel it.
Oh shit, things just got real. The morning rose, we stretching and yawning, the sleep out of my body. I surprisingly had a peaceful night, but apparently Damien didn't, as he wasn't in bed with me. I looked to the side to see him, not under the sheets with me, but standing by the fireplace staring into the flames, with bags under his eyes. I slowly rose from the bed and covered my mouth as another yawn escaped me. Damien? At the sound of my voice, Damien looked over, his eyes glazed over in exhaustion. I could tell that something had kept him up, so I slid my legs off of the bed and walked over to him, wrapping my arms around him. What's wrong? I looked up into his violet and blue eyes, trying to find an answer within them, despite it being impossible. Whatever it was that kept him up, I wanted to know, and try to help. Still Damien remained silent. His arms, however, wrapped themselves around my form and gently pulled me against his body, leaning his forehead against mine. With a soft, tired sigh, Damien closed his eyes and gave me a small squeeze.
Did you sleep well?
I nodded, but remained concerned. If something was wrong, I wanted to know and try to help him get over it. Still, Damien said nothing and just smiled at me.
Good. That's good.
Should we ask him, guys, or should we say, what about you? Or should we not ask him, or should we say, what about you? Are you saying hello, Lucky? Are you saying hello? So? What you doing? Huh? What you doing? What you doing? What you doing? What about you? I needed to know what was wrong. Something about Damien didn't seem to be okay, and I wanted to see what I could do. Damien simply stared down at me, exhaustion plaguing his eyes before shaking his head.
Nothing's wrong. At least, I don't think so.
Then, why do you look so tired? Damien pressed his lips together and looked down at the space between us, almost in shame. What was he hiding?
I didn't sleep much last night. Sorry.
I furrowed my eyebrows and cupped his cheeks. He was warm, probably from sitting in front of the fire for a long while. Still, I was now worried for Damien. Maybe you should head back to bed and try to catch some sleep. Damien opened his mouth to speak, but was interrupted by the sound of a pounding fist at our door.
Oi! Got some food! Let us in!
Rise and shine.
Damien and I stared at the door before holding hands and circling around the bed to sit on the edge of it. As we settled onto the mattress, Damien called out, masking his exhaustion.
Come in.
The door opened to reveal the other incubi and their wives, who began to slowly file in each with... The door opened to reveal the other incubi and their wives, who began to slowly file in, each with a plate of food in their hands. Carrie and Sam, however, had two each and passed us their extra plates.
There you go.
Thank you, Carrie.
There you go, bro.
Thank you, Sam.
The group settled into the room, making themselves comfy, whether they were standing or sitting on the bench. As I looked down at the plate in my hands, I took note of the food on it. Jerky, cheese, fruit, and bread. Simple. I began to chow down on the fruit as James cleared his throat.
So, we need to discuss training.
Sam and Matthew let out a simultaneous groan, obviously not in the mood to get into the conversation James wanted to start up.
Do we have to? Can't we wait until after breakfast?
As much as I would agree, we are strapped for time. We need to settle a plan, and soon.
You know, Lucky, the chat is saying hello to you.
We train like we used to do. Go and kick the bastard's
So
ass.
you're just gonna
and
stare
go
cute
home.
at him, huh?
Done.
Sam began to stuff his face, finished saying his piece. As James pinched the bridge of his nose and let out a sigh of irritation, Carrie grabbed Sam's shoulder and shook it slightly, making him look up at her.
As awesome as you are, I don't think that'll be enough.
Indeed. We may be 5 strong, but we'd still be going up against the man who has always been stronger than all of us combined. We need to think logically about this.
Well, not to bring up the elephant in the room. Aren't you guys kind of downy, brother? At least demon-wise?
Everyone looked over at Noreen, taking in what she had said. She was right. Damien was human now, and couldn't train like a demon right now. Demon, right? Damien looked down at his plate again and began to eat in silence. What was wrong? The others continued to chat, ignoring me and Damien.
While Damien may be human now, he can still fight.
Any human can fight, really, if you piss them off enough. I think Damien's got more of a reason to be pissed off than anyone else.
Yeah, all 5 of us can kick his ass. 4 demons in a human style.
Well, not exactly.
At that moment, everyone turned their heads to see Diana at the door. To my surprise, her expression was a very guilt-driven and regretful demeanor. Something in my gut began to churn. What did Diana mean? What did she have in mind?
Not exactly?
You're not exactly down, a brother. At least not in the sense you are insinuating.
Diana stepped further into the room, placing her hands together by her stomach and looking to Diana, who simply looked back at her with tired but stern eyes.
What do you mean?
The room began to fill with a tense aura, making it clear that Diana was going to drop some sort of bombshell on us. In a fit of discomfort, Sam rolled his shoulders and practically spat out at Diana.
Well, out with it.
With a heavy and low breath, Diana looked into Damien's piercing gaze, no longer able to hide what secret she was keeping.
Damien, can you read my mind right now?
Silence once again trickled into the air. I looked to Damien, now very confused and concerned. Did he still have his mind-reading abilities? I thought she turned him human. He wasn't a demon anymore, right? As I stared, Damien kept his gaze locked on Diana, concentrating on her. Eerie, slowly his eyes began to widen with fearful dread. Was he able to read her mind after all? She was thinking about my fluffy ass, wasn't she? Wasn't she, Damien? The next second became blurred as Damien pounced off of the bed and charged at Diana, slamming her into the wall by her neck.
You lied to me! Damien!
Hey!
You swore that I would be human!
I instantly stood lost in the state of shock from seeing Damien look Diana in a fist chokehold, pressing her hard against the stone wall behind her. Naturally, Diana gripped Damien's wrist, trying to pry it off of her.
Why can't I read your thoughts?
Desperate for air, Diana lifted her leg up and kicked Damien off of her, vaulting him back to slam into Sam and Carrie. Diana buckled to the ground, coughing wildly, as Sam managed to catch Damien and keep them both upright as Carrie held onto the bench to keep from falling back. Damien! I instantly rushed over to Damien, pulling him from Sam's hold and wrapping my arms around him. He was shaking, and I caught sight of tears running down his cheeks as he was trying to disbelieve what was happening.
What did you do to him?
Diana lifted her head and grasped her neck. However, her expression wasn't one of rage, but still of deep regret. She knew that this would happen, and this was a deserved punishment. She expected this.
I never turned you human. I only drained you of your energy through a ritual. It was supposed to completely wipe out any need for energy, making you human. But you've never been completely transformed.
Damien attempted to lunge at Diana again, causing me to instantly grip onto him and keep him back. None of this made sense. If he was still a demon, then eventually he would have needed energy, yet there was no point where he drained it from me. But Damien never felt like a demon. We've been practically magic-free for 2 years. That doesn't make sense.
I've had no magic, no mind reading for 2 years. I never felt the need to feed or drain any energy the entire time. How is this possible?
You're in the demon world. This world is full of magic, strong enough to rekindle your abilities. The human world is too pure to give your body the power it needed to convert back to your demon state.
This entire situation became a myriad of confusion. Damien never became human. Diana didn't fulfill her end of the deal. What was going on? Damien eventually slumped into my arms. His adrenaline completely drained as he took in the truth of what had become of him. At that time, the situation was well. Damien was still a demon, unconsciously, but still unchanged. As part of me was relieved, while the other part of me felt incredibly sorry for him.
I'm sorry.
No, you're not.
Damien looked up at Diana's eyes full of tired rage. Diana stared back, flinching at the sight. I could feel the anger revolving around Damien's body as I held him close to me, which in turn almost frightened me.
You will never be sorry for anything. The Princess of Lilith is too prideful to give a damn about anyone but herself, and it's always been that way.
I could hear the venom snaking into the words as he struck them at the succubus. However, there was also deep pain and hurt. Who wouldn't be? He had been living a lie, and the reality of the truth was crashing down around him.
Was it funny? Tricking me into believing you? Oh, it must have been. Because you fooled me for the past 2 years and managed to get away with my energy. You always get what you want, don't you?
Should we stop Damien, or should we let him continue by not saying anything? Dun, 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 dun. Alright, don't say anything. He was right. This was unfair. Diana swore to make him human, and she tricked him into believing she had. Despite the cruel tone of Damien's words, Diana deserved to hear each one. Diana slowly stood and rubbed her neck, rogue tears running down her face, but her expression contorted to one of cold hatred.
Well, the joke's on me then. I returned to see my kingdom in flames and my family gruesomely slaughtered. So I guess I didn't get what I wanted either.
That caused silence to engulf the room. The news formed a dark pit in my stomach, forcing me to imagine such a scene, and shake it out of my thoughts furiously. Damien didn't speak. Instead, he moved and sat down on the bed, his head in his hands as he curled over his knees. I followed, wrapping my arms around him comfortingly. Damien's brothers, however, each took a step towards Diana.
Give Damien his energy back.
Impossible.
Like hell it is! If he's still a demon, he needs his energy to fight.
I've spent the last 10 years fighting the Demon Lord with both of their energies. I'm not as powerful as I was then, so I no longer have the ability to give him anything without risking my life.
Who said we gave a damn about you?
Sam stepped up to Diana, leaning nose to nose with her. His anger flared around his body, giving an intimidating warning that didn't seem to faze her.
You fucked over our brother. You give a shit about what happened because of your fuck-up. You're gonna fix this, or else.
That's enough, Sam.
Eric, seemingly the only sensible one of the group of incubi, grabbed onto Sam's shoulder and pulled him away from Diana. Sam gave in, still glaring at the succubus before sitting down beside his wife on the bench. I, however, became torn. What was going to happen now? Damien was a demon again, and was getting his powers back, yet Damien didn't want his powers back at all, even at the risk of being the odd brother out. This entire situation became a conglomerate mess of uncertainty and confusion that I had to lower my head and close my eyes for a moment. Diana wiped her eyes, letting out a small sigh before she glanced around the room.
I will do what I can to fix this issue. For now, however, you can correctly assume that the 5 of you are all demons and can fight with your incubus abilities.
With a cold glare, Diana locked eyes with Sam. As she spoke, Cyril, who had only just entered the room, stepped behind Diana to aid in her intimidation.
And if any of you dare step up to me and threaten me again, you will not live to see the final battle.
Sam moved to stand, sudden anger flashing through his expression before Carrie grabbed hold of his arms and pulled him back down to sit beside her. Diana closed her eyes and took a breath before crossing her arms and regaining her professional composure. The air was filled with anxious irritation, but we had to let it go for now. We would harsh everything out at a later time, but for now we had to focus on what was going to bring me and Damien home. Diana ran a hand through her hair and down the room, pressing her lips into a fine line.
So, about all of you participating in the war, you all obviously need to train.
Everyone nodded in agreement to Diana's statement. While we weren't battle ready, we still needed to at least know how to defend ourselves. Diana, however, looked at me.
You, most of all.
Huh? Me? I was suddenly confused. How come I was the odd one out that had to be ready the most? The last thing I remembered about me training was that Diana was against the idea altogether. It was the fluffiness, wasn't it? It was the fluffy butt. It's the fluffiness. It was not fluffy enough. No! Diana sighed and rubbed her temples.
Apparently, there are guidelines to breaking this curse. Not only do we have to kill the Demon Lord, but you have to be nearby when it happens for the curse to even break.
Oh, great. The Demon Lord has to look at the fluffiness of my ass. No wonder he wants to grab it. That makes no sense. Where did you learn this?
Shadow. He spent the night trying to find alternative ways to break your curse. Unfortunately, we didn't find anything of the sort, but we found the guidelines to breaking it.
Well, it still makes no sense.
Even while it doesn't, it's still better to be safe than sorry. I don't want to kill him and then still have you stuck here because of an error.
I could only sigh and take it in, so he had to be there when the Demon Lord fell. Great. Diana waved her hand dismissively through the air, breaking my potential thoughts.
Anyway, we can't have you dying on the way there, and we can't monitor you when we're in battle. You should at least know how to defend yourself. That's why we've come up with a solution.
Huh? What solution?
Simple. The other rebel leaders and Sarah have agreed that if you'd like a trainer to enhance your abilities, you can train with one of them.
I stared, seeing Sarah step forward with a nod.
Each of the leaders is proficient in a different area of magic and battle strategy, good enough for self-defense. I can't speak for the others, but I can assure you that with Sarah's skill and training methods, you will be well prepared by the time the siege arrives.
Sarah nodded and bowed to me slightly. While I was flattered at the idea, did I really need a trainer? I knew Taekwondo, and I at least knew how to defend myself, demon or not. Then again, we were in the demon world, where magic was the norm. So, I've already seen a lot of you already telling me, Shadow! No, Rabbit! No, Faye! No! But I've seen a lot of you ask of me to choose Shadow, so that is who I'm going to choose. What would the others teach me? Diana ran a hand through her hair, looking to the side as she listed each leader and their skills.
Sergeant is a brute demon, bred from a nomadic tribe. He most likely teach you the ways of the brute demon, using your fists and speed to keep you alive. Shadow is, by definition, a shadow demon, so he'd probably teach you about dark magic, light manipulation, and assassination. Rabbit is a wild magic-based animal demon, using her animal-focused energy as her weapon. She'd probably teach you how to do the same.
Give me just a sec, guys.
Faye, I am honestly not sure. I know they can change their size and use elemental magic as well. But to be honest, I do not know what they would teach you.
Oh my gosh. Hello, Red. Hello, it's Red. Welcome to my live stream. Oh my gosh. You know what, guys? You know what? I'm gonna end right here. You guys are making it too hard for me. So I'm gonna end the stream right here. And we will be back to choose tomorrow, same time at 8 o'clock. Know which one it should be. And then maybe I can see your guys' comments down below of who to choose.